Hi, honey, it's Chloe. Virginia basically killed any of the Democrats' hope to successfully redistrict the House ahead of the 2026 midterms. Unfortunately, baby, it's over. It died in Virginia today. For the hopes of stopping Donald Trump, which Republicans have successfully redistricted in several other states throughout the South, especially since the end of the Voting Rights Act. It is awful. It's consequential, and they're looking at a +10 win in 2026 overall already. There were already gerrymandered districts, so hopes of trying to stop Trump in 2026 and 2028 are now drastically lower on a legislative level when it comes to the House of Representatives, and also as it relates to the goddamn larger election, because that controls where polling places is, it controls several things. And you're looking at, well, why were these other Republican states allowed to do it? So let me break it down for you. Basically what happened was the Virginia Supreme Court struck down the measure that was voted on by voters in Virginia, saying that they can successfully redraw their maps. And the reason why they had a referendum was because in 2020, voters passed an amendment to the Constitution saying that you need an independent commission before you can redistrict. This is supposed to protect democracy. Nobody knew that once Donald Trump was going to get elected 4 years later in 2024, he was going to start fucking around in Texas in 2025, and then again in 2026 with the Supreme Court. We didn't know that. And so then other states were like, well, we got to do what we got to do. Well, the Republican states specifically did not have that in play. You could redistrict and do all types of gerrymandering in these southern states like in North Carolina, Texas, Tennessee. You could just keep doing it because there was no law against it. Virginia did have a law, so they had to amend their constitution in order to get it to pass, and they did that through this vote. But the problem on that vote, that was struck down. Only about 60% of eligible voters were able to actually be a part of this vote because 40% of them had early voted. And so because of that, the court was like, well, not everybody was even a part of this. And then they had also said that, like, well, in order to review this vote, the vote needs to happen. But then once the vote had happened and the voters approved it, it was no longer up for review. So there was some like legal inconsistencies. And while it is theoretically a good thing for the other people who are not completely all Democrat in Virginia, they have a fair say in their own state. However, in fairness to the dissent, which technically has the better legal argument, there was no requirement that early voting be a part of this, and therefore the election technically only takes 1 day. And if you go by the date of the election as opposed to like the general process of electing, then therefore the vote was valid, and therefore we can go off of the actual referendum as it was put forth. Nonetheless, this is a death blow to redistricting efforts by the Democratic Party because Virginia was able to pick up 5 seats as opposed to 1 seat here, 2 seat here. Then of course the gutting of the Voting Rights Act, which people didn't see coming, unfortunately, deeply makes it that much more consequential. So Republicans are looking at a +10 advantage despite the Iran war, despite these gas prices, despite tariffs, despite ICE literally ripping people from their fucking homes, despite everything that's been going on. Republicans are looking at massive gains politically, to say nothing of the outright anti-democratic reality that people in these other states are going to have to deal with. I just want to make that clear for anyone if they didn't really understand what was going on or why it was happening.